talking about border security. Who can be against it? We're talking about drugs pouring in, human traffickers tying up women, putting tape in their mouth, and pouring into our country. We can't have that. We can't have that. We have drugs, we have criminals, we have gangs, and the Democrats don't want to do anything about it. They say, oh, it's immoral. But it wasn't immoral 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and 10 years ago when they all raised their hands to approve a wall. All of a sudden, it's immoral. Who did? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
Hey there, everybody. John Mark here. Welcome to Mark My Words. The conflict in the United States of America over the border wall shows no sign of abating. Instead, it is escalating and escalating. And I am here to tell you today that it is going to result in a civil war. The conflict over the border wall itself is just the most visible flashpoint. It's the most visible surface symptom of what is going on underneath. What I'm going to do in this video is explain to you the root cause of why America is so conflicted, why the border wall is the flashpoint of this, and you're going to come away with one simple message. Civil war is coming to America. Unless somebody can pull off some kind of a peaceful separation, civil war is coming, and today I'm going to explain to you why the divide cannot be healed. We've seen an impasse between the left and the right, an impasse between Trump and his base who are demanding a border wall, and the left who absolutely cannot give in on a border wall. Why are these two positions so entrenched? Why can neither side give a single inch without losing their base? It's because each base believes in a different religion, and I use the word religion very loosely, simply to mean that each base holds something sacred. And the two things that each side holds sacred are not compatible with each other at all. They clash in a way that is impossible to reconcile. I'm going to explain to you today, you have to choose one of these priorities as a higher priority than the other, or you cannot run a successful organization. The United States is no different. By the end of this video, you are going to understand the underlying dynamics of why there's going to be a civil war in America. The short version is legal immigration plus political correctness equals civil war. Why? Because most legal immigrants are non-whites, and most non-white people vote Democrat and get caught up in this anti-white religion of political correctness. So that combination will disempower the right wing politically completely in America within the next several years. Not only will it completely disempower the right wing as far as winning elections, but because of the political correctness aspect, which, as I will explain, is basically communism, these people will not be able to help themselves from trying to stick the knife deeper and deeper into straight white men's bellies and twisting it and twisting it and twisting it. They will not be able to help themselves because they are operating in a religion. And I'm going to explain that to you today, so it can be crystal clear in your mind. Civil war is coming to America, and you had better be prepared. Because Western civilization cannot survive becoming minority white. It can't even survive another 5-10 percentage point swing to get as close to 50% white. Right now, America is about 60% white. Another 5%, even another 1 or 2%, the right wing can never win another national level election again. So it's very important that you understand the underlying dynamics, that this is not going to be okay. No one in our government, including Trump, is doing what needs to be done to stop a civil war from happening. Even if Donald Trump builds a wall, even if a big, beautiful wall was completed and put in place tomorrow, that still would not be enough. That still would not stop a civil war from coming, because the biggest problem is legal immigration of non-white people who vote Democrat and buy into an anti-white religion. And there's no indication that's going to change. We could have won our last election with Donald Trump. If we win one more, we'll be lucky. Ann Coulter tweeted the other day that if the same exact election was held today as in 2016, Hillary Clinton would win just because of non-white people turning 18 years old in the United States of America. Civic nationalists, Illegal immigration is not our biggest problem. Legal immigration is our biggest problem. Stop supporting legal immigration. Stop putting your desire to be nice to those non-white legal immigrants that actually vote right-wing, which is a minority of them. Stop putting your desire to be nice to those people above the well-being of your own children and grandchildren. That's what it comes down to. Stop trying to be nice to a group of people, most of whom will turn around and stab you in the back. We're going to end up in a civil war because we were too nice to a group of people, most of whom do not care about us and will gladly stab us in the back when given a chance. And to be clear, I am not calling for civil war. I call for peaceful separation. I am predicting civil war. Civic nationalists, wake up. Now, let me explain the underlying dynamics of what is going on so you can understand why it's happening and why there is no escape from this apart from peaceful separation. You need to understand the underlying dynamics, so let me explain them to you. The wall is just the most visible surface symptom. It is the flashpoint. Why is it the flashpoint? Well, because a wall is designed to keep people out. This goes against the religion of the left. What is the religion of the left? In other words, as I use the word religion very loosely, what does the left hold sacred? If you look at the research of Dr. Jonathan Haidt, one of the things that he talks about is how groups tend to hold certain things sacred. And if you mess with what they consider sacred, you become their mortal enemy. What does the left hold sacred? Well, as I explain in other videos, the left is a mother and her children. You will understand that if you watch my videos on fake status and on mother instinct gone wrong. The left is a mother and her children. You can also see from the research of Dr. Haidt that leftists, and in particular I believe this is largely white leftists, although it may be people of color as well, especially white leftists of Western European descent, operate with really only one moral instinct, and that is the moral instinct of care. That is a mother instinct. That's the mother. The white Western European leftists, it's not most white people, but the segment of white people, which is a minority of white people that are leftists, are operating in this dynamic where their moral instinct is care and really nothing else. You could call that the female or the mother instinct. Care, 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 empathy, empathy, empathy. That is the only thing on their mind 24/7. And I'm not just saying this, this comes from scientific research. What does a mother have on her mind 24/7? Care, care, care. Provision, provision, provision. So the white leftists are the mother. The less successful people groups or the people groups that have been marginalized in the past, like the LGBT folks, etc., are the children. A mother wants all of her children to succeed. You can come to a mother with any kind of a logical reason why her children are not succeeding, and she's going to say, I just want them to succeed. She's just going to be mama bear and her paws are going to start swinging. The children want this care. And by the way, I'm not saying this in a disparaging way. I'm trying to explain to you that this is normal. I'm not demonizing these people. I'm saying this is normal. This is understandable human psychology. If you listen to a white leftist, they want non-white people to succeed. They want LGBT people to succeed. They want women to succeed. This is how they're thinking. They're thinking like a mother. And of course, all of these groups want to succeed as well. So they cheer this on. They accept this. They want this. And what in their mind is holding them back from succeeding at the level they want to succeed? In their mind, what's holding them back is the big bad white men. Straight white men. Why? Because straight white men are obviously, if you look around the world, the most successful group of people in the history of the world by a wide margin. It is unthinkable to them that straight white men might actually have had a unique history in Western Europe particularly that caused straight white men, or just white people in general of Western European descent, to become the most successful civilization in the history of the world. It's unthinkable to them that there might be some additional competence involved there. The only thing they can focus on, well, there was slavery and there was colonialism and there was this and white people are just terrible and uniquely evil. They cannot accept the thought that maybe it's not just pure evil. Maybe there's competence involved. And of course you ask yourself, if white people are so evil, why is everybody in the world trying to move into white countries? If white people are so bad, why is everybody trying to live around us? So what I'm here to explain to you today is the left side of the spectrum and the right side of the spectrum. The left side of the spectrum is a mother and her children. They do not want to hear and they cannot hear that there is anything causing the difference between the success of white people and non-white people other than evil on the part of white people. Because if there's any other root cause, that means that somebody's inferior and somebody else is superior. And the leftist mind cannot handle that. Because it's a mother and her children. The mother doesn't want to hear my kids aren't going to succeed as well because of XYZ. The kids don't want to hear that. It doesn't matter if you throw facts at them all day long. It's too emotionally wrenching for them. This is what you would expect from a group of people that has the moral instincts that the research shows that leftists have. So what is sacred to the left is the victim, or the perceived victim. What they view as the victim. If you say anything bad about the victim, you are evil. Donald Trump came down from Trump Tower and he said something bad about illegal immigrants. Now, it didn't matter that Obama had said virtually the exact same thing years before. It didn't matter that other leftists, Chuck Schumer, had said virtually the exact same thing years before, because the environment changed, as I'll explain in a moment. And by the time Donald Trump ran for president and said that, the environment was such that the mother and the children are in such a religious fervor about not saying anything bad about their children, about the victim, that once Donald Trump said anything bad about Mexicans, even just a group of Mexicans, and of course he didn't say it with the most absolute clarity, I think it's pretty clear, but of course they don't hear that at all. The left only hears, he said something bad about non-white people, he is Satan. He said something bad about my kids. He said something bad about my brothers and sisters. He is the enemy. His supporters are the enemy. This is why they call Trump supporters Nazis, racists. Their mind is a communist mind. Communism is one-dimensional thinking. Communism says there is only one reason or only one primary reason for the difference in success between people, and that reason is oppression. Communism only sees oppressor, victim. That is all they see. They don't see that some people are more competent than others. They don't see that some people are more intelligent than others. They don't see that some people got luckier in history than others and had a unique historical path that caused them to stumble upon certain civilizational best practices, like happened with white people of Western European descent. And I'm not saying it's pure luck either. We did a lot where we thought through things correctly and did well. They don't see that maybe part of black people's problem in America is that they have over half, depending on what numbers you look at, the lowest number I've seen is 55%, and I've also seen numbers close to 70-75% of black children grow up without a father in the home, are born out of wedlock. They can't see that that might be part of their problem. I was talking to an intelligent white leftist a while back. This is a person who considers themselves well-informed, high IQ, and I told this person that fact, and they were not even aware of it. It's not part of their narrative, because it's not part of the narrative that a mother tells herself about her children. A mother doesn't say to herself, my kids are doing certain things wrong that are crippling them and they have certain handicaps. A mother doesn't say to herself, you know, my kid's IQ is lower than the average IQ by a significant amount, or my kid's IQ is lower than this other person's IQ, so they're not going to succeed as much. That type of thinking is emotionally wrenching to a mother. Now, an individual mother might be able to handle that, of course, but I'm talking about the group psychology here. The left is completely unable to accept this. How can a person who has been reading the Washington Post every single day for years not even be aware that black people have a fatherlessness epidemic? Because they're a mother. Because they don't want to hear it. Because in their mind, the victim is sacred. They are communists. Social justice warriorism is communism. Political correctness is communism. Now, the next question is, how did this get unleashed in the United States of America? Somebody showed me a YouTube video the other day of the national anthem being played at the Super Bowl. This was just a few years ago. And all of the black players were clapping, cheering, putting their hands in the air after the national anthem was done being sung. They were proud of America. What happened? Why are they no longer proud of America? Why are they kneeling during the national anthem? What changed? Let me tell you what changed. In the year 2011, the Democrat Party made a strategic decision to stop appealing to working class white men and go full out, pedal to the metal on identity politics for non-white people. The reason they did this is because they were smart, at least in the short term. They knew that nobody in government had any interest in stopping the inflow of non-white people, either legally or illegally, into the United States of America. They knew that all of the Congress, for the most part, are bought and paid for by big corporations that want this for their own financial reasons. So they knew that non-white people were going to continue to flood into America, and they said, if we just tell these non-white people that they're fantastic because of their skin color and play identity politics with non-white people, we're not going to need the working class white vote. And they were right. Now they have a short-term hiccup, and his name is Donald Trump. They didn't foresee that an outsider billionaire would rise up and want to build a wall. But it doesn't matter in the long run. Unless Donald Trump does something to stop all legal immigration, he is just a hiccup. All he has done is buy the grassroots right a little bit of time. Because a wall is not going to stop this. This is why I say the wall is the most visible flashpoint, but it is not the root cause of this. The root cause of this is communism being unleashed, which I'm explaining to you right now, combined with mass legal immigration of non-white people. And just so you understand, I'm not demonizing the legal immigrants that are coming in. If I was in their position, I would be doing the same thing probably. But I'm explaining to you how communism got unleashed in America. First of all, the 1965 Immigration Act was passed, which opened the borders to millions and millions of legal immigrants. So now for many years, we've had most of our immigrants in the United States of America are legal immigrants. Most of them are non-whites. You combine that with what the Democrat Party did in 2011, and what do you get? You get an explosion of communism is what you get. You get an explosion of this one-dimensional thinking. You get an explosion of social justice warriorism, an explosion of political correctness. Why? Because when the Democrat Party said, we're not going to appeal to working class white men anymore, that unleashed the latent communism in the leftist mind. Because all communism needs is a bogeyman. All it needs is a Satan to point its finger at and say, that group of people oppressed us. That's all they need. It's the same exact thing that the communist intellectuals did in Ukraine, for example, when they came in and they told the peasants, these successful farmers here in the Ukraine are oppressing you because they have more than you do. The only possible reason they can have more than you is because they're oppressing you. It can't be that they're competent. No, that can't be, because that would mean you're inferior in some way. It can't be that. It has to be that they're oppressing you. Therefore, you have moral permission, and in fact, you are morally obligated to strip from them everything that they have. And this victim worship and the fake morality that results from it cause these people to rise up, take away from the productive farmers everything that they had, send them off to Siberia, kill them, whatever the case may be. And Ukraine went from being the breadbasket of Europe to millions of people starving to death and them having to put up signs that said, remember, it's wrong to eat your children. This is the exact same dynamic unleashed in America now since 2011, when the Democrat Party released the communism latent in the leftist mind by giving them a bogeyman, by giving them a Satan, straight white men, especially right-wing straight white men. You give them a Satan, they're going to run with it. See, previously, straight white men couldn't really be the Satan because the Democrat Party had to appeal to working class white men. Well, once you strategically abandon that, all straight white men suddenly become the devil. And that's a very easy dynamic to operate in. And they sell this and people buy it. And it's understandable why people buy it. It's not good, it's terrible, but it's understandable. And so this is why we right-wingers, we're looking at this and saying all this stuff that comes out of their mouth is lie after lie after lie, usually lie by omission. I mean, I'm not saying white people didn't hold slaves, but it was a tiny percentage of white people. Most white people alive today, most of our ancestors didn't even hold slaves. And you're trying to hold this over our head? I could go on this for an hour of picking apart the lies that politically correct people tell, but it's pointless. I mean, I'm not saying it's pointless because some people listen, but if you look at the twisted logic on your screen, the only way any of it makes sense is if a person has a religion that non-white people and LGBT and women are victims and straight white men are oppressors. That non-white people, LGBT and women are Jesus and straight white men are Satan. That is the only way the pretzel logic of the modern left makes any sense. If you look at everything they say through that lens, you will get why they're saying what they're saying. Because they believe in a religion, because they have a one-dimensional outlook on the world. Oppressor, victim. You fill those slots with clearly defined people groups. Straight white men is the oppressor, everyone else is the victim. Bam, you've got your religion, you've got your victim, you've got what's sacred, you know how to live your life, you know what to aim for. Your goal is to tear down straight white men. Now, let me ask you a simple question, folks. Do you think they're going to get away with this in the way that they ultimately want? Obviously, they've already gotten away with it to some extent. Some would even say to a large extent. But do you think they're going to be able to carry this to the logical conclusion that they want? Do you think their progressive utopia is going to come to pass in the United States of America when what is standing in their way is 80 million committed conservatives, most of them white people? So you're looking at about 45 million straight white men who are committed conservatives, who have roughly 400 million guns in their hands, and most of the military and police in America are A, straight white men, and B, part of the grassroots right in some way, shape, or form. Do you think the left is going to get away with this, or do you think it is going to backfire royally? If you think that the left is going to get away with this, I've got news for you. You're living in a Disney movie. Because I know right-wing men, and they are not going to allow a ragtag coalition of communists to take over the greatest civilization the earth has ever seen. It is not going to happen. So now let's talk about the right wing. What the right wing holds sacred is not compatible at all with what the left wing holds sacred. And we're going to see how there is no possible compromise between these two religions, so to speak. So what the right wing holds sacred is what I call quality control. Civilizational quality control. We want our group to be competitive. We don't want to allow anything that would weaken our group or even threaten to weaken our group's competitiveness in this harsh world. If you look at right-wingers and everything they do and everything they say through that lens, you will understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they're saying what they're saying. You will understand why they want a wall. Right-wingers are looking at our border and they're saying we have no quality control whatsoever over our border. And this is absolutely unacceptable to the right-wing mind. It would be like telling a company that's trying to compete in the marketplace that they have to accept every single person that applies for a job at their company. And this brings me to a great illustration of why these two sacred values, quality control versus equality of outcome for victims, you cannot have both as your top priority in an organization at the same time. If you're in charge of a company, you have to choose, is the quality of my company and the strength of my company going to be my top priority? Or is niceness and just accepting everyone and trying to help everyone succeed going to be the top priority of my company? Because if the latter is the number one priority of my company, then I have to accept everyone who applies for a job. This is literally what the left is insisting upon, by the way, in modern America. You can see how absurd it is. From the mind of a right-winger, it's absolute absurdity. But in the mind of a left-winger, any type of attempt at quality control is saying somebody is inferior to somebody else. Well, yeah, no kidding. Are you literally claiming that everybody's equal? Are you literally claiming that if you take 5 million Somalis and put them in a nice spot to start a city, and 5 million Dutch people and put them in a nice spot to start a city, that they're going to produce the exact same civilization with roughly equivalent GDPs and roughly equivalent outcomes? Is that literally what you're claiming? Leftists believe in an absurd religion because they're operating in a mother and children mindset. If you try to transfer their mindset and make their top priority the top priority of any organization on this planet, that organization is going to die. You have to have quality control. And you cannot have both of these priorities as your top priority at the same time. You have to choose one. And if you choose wrong, your organization dies. So this is the instinct the right wing is operating in, quality control. Now let's talk a little bit more about the right wing. The right wing is roughly divided now into three factions. You've got the Never Trump faction, or the neocon faction, or the moderate right wing faction, which are all kind of melded together now in, I don't like what's going on. Then you've got the civic nationalists who want a wall, who want to stop illegal immigration, but they are in favor of legal immigration, even legal immigration of millions of non-white people. What is happening with the civic nationalists is their instinct for quality control is satisfied by the idea of stopping illegal immigration. Because they think to themselves, if we stop illegal immigration and we continue to allow millions of people, even if most of them are non-whites, we continue to allow them to come in. As long as they come in legally, we're vetting them in some way, shape, or form. Therefore, my instinct for quality control is satisfied by that. What they don't realize is that the great majority of these non-white people who come in legally turn right around and stab the civic nationalists in the back by voting Democrat. That is why civic nationalists are starting to move over to what I call the winning right. Every day, more and more of them are moving over to the winning right because every day, more and more of them are realizing we cannot continue to support legal immigration into the United States of millions and millions of non-white people who are going to turn around and stab us in the back, not just by voting Democrat, but by demonizing us after we were nice enough to allow them to come into our country. Treacherous violations of reciprocity such as that do not continue indefinitely without a backlash. The backlash is growing daily, and civic nationalists are waking up. And then you've got the people to the right of the civic nationalists. This is the third group of right-wingers. That's the smart people on the right who are not politically suicidal like everyone else on the right wing. Look at how the Democrat Party has shifted left and left and left, and the conservatives have shifted right and right and right because there's no other possible response. We can't afford to sit around and be classical liberals and libertarians and all this stuff when the left is playing a communism game. When the left is playing a colonization and demonization strategy, we can't sit around and be like Jordan Peterson and be like, let's not play identity politics, because they're not going to listen to that. The only people on the right wing who have any stinking clue whatsoever about how to not be politically suicidal is the winning right. People who oppose all legal immigration into the United States of America of non-whites, not because all non-whites are terrible, because obviously that's not the case, but because it's politically suicidal, if nothing else. So there's going to be a civil war in America, folks, because no one is stopping legal immigration. And legal immigration of non-white people is what gives the Communist Party of America, the Democrats, what they've now become, an unlimited supply of new voters. We are on the cusp of the right wing being completely disempowered politically in the United States of America. So I go back to my question. Do you really believe that the committed conservatives in the United States of America are going to go the way of the dinosaur? Do you really believe that they are going to fade away into the dustbin of history without a whimper? Do you really believe that the progressive utopia is going to come into place? Do you really believe that the committed conservatives of the United States of America are going to put up with their nation becoming Brazil 2.0 on their watch? If you believe that's going to happen, you are wrong. I am here to deliver a warning to you. I am not calling for this. I'm predicting this like a weatherman predicts a hurricane. I am warning you in the form of a prediction. These straight, white, conservative men are going to get out their guns in some way, shape, or form. They are not going to allow this. Now you sit here and say, is the left really going to listen to your warning? No. That's why you better prepare for civil war. Every day that you have when this doesn't happen is a gift to you. Because it is going to happen. Unless by some miracle somebody rises up and negotiates a peaceful separation. Because these two religions, so to speak, cannot coexist. They could coexist if there was no legal immigration of millions and millions of non-white people continually with nobody stopping it. They could coexist because the right wing could still win some elections and keep it in check. Once the right wing can't win any more elections, it's over. The left is going to run everything politically, and the only way the committed conservatives are going to be able to hold on to anything that they value is going to be to get out the guns. And my prediction is they're going to do it. And if your prediction is they're not, you're taking a huge risk. So this message that I've given you here today is very important because there are some people out there still thinking that this is going to be okay, that we're going to make it through somehow. No, we're not. This is how wars happen, folks. People that absolutely cannot live together don't live together. The committed conservatives in America will not be ruled by a bunch of commie, pinko, SJW, politically correct, ragtag group of people who demonize and colonize them. They will not put up with it. There's way too much testosterone. There's way too much competence. There's way too many guns. There's way too many bullets. And again, let me be very clear. I'm not calling for this. I call for peaceful separation. But it's as easy to predict as the fact that the sun is going to rise in the east tomorrow morning. If you're a leftist, think about what you're doing. Be one of the few smart ones. If you're a leftist, by advocating for open borders, you are leading America into civil war. If you're a moderate leftist, by allowing or advocating for open borders or relatively open borders, you are leading America into civil war. If you're a moderate or a centrist, by allowing open borders, and by open borders I mean legal immigration as well, by allowing millions of non-white people to come into America, and by not stamping out what the left is doing with those non-white immigrants, which is teaching them to be communists, by allowing that, you are leading America into civil war. If you are a classical liberal going around preaching, let's not play identity politics without being realistic about the fact that they're not going to listen to you, you are leading America into civil war. If you are a libertarian that wants open borders because it's good for the economy or whatever in the short term, you are leading America into civil war. If you are a civic nationalist that's trying to be nice to non-white people and trying to focus on the non-white people that come in that are good people and that vote right wing, and ignoring the majority of non-white people that vote left wing when they come in, you are politically suicidal and you are leading America into civil war. The only people in America that are not leading America into civil war are people like me on the winning right. We are the only people who know how to win on the right wing, which is you can't let millions of non-white people come in and let the Democrat Party catch them up in their communist religion. I think I've made my point. Subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be doing a lot of fascinating videos, in-depth analysis on how a civil war in America would play out. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos, especially if you're a right-winger, you will really learn a lot from them. Especially check out my video on parasite-proof government because that is the long-term solution for the right wing. The most likely outcome of what we're in right now is a civil war in America. The most likely outcome of that by far is the grassroots right wins it. So we have to be ready with something better so that this never happens to us again and our descendants never have to fight this battle again. So again, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. That's all I've got for right now. We'll see you next time. How much longer do we want to play trench warfare with the left? How many more times are we going to have to fight this battle? You know what my answer is? 0. 0 more times. This is going to be the last time. And if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will.